myths of the ophthalmology. So we all know that every subject has specific myths about it. For example, we have seen that some subjects are considered to be specifically designed for more of um, members who are actually interested in surgery. Some subjects are dealt with as if they are minor subjects. To be honest, I have seen many people say that since ophthalmology's notes have not been occupying more than one entire notebook space for the PG preparation, maybe it's a minor subject. So there is a myth going around, like I have seen and I have heard myself, that ophthalmology is a short subject. It can be, since it's dealt with easily in the UG days, maybe it's not so vast when we finally meet it in PG days. So I need to clear this myth regarding the minor subject myth of ophthalmology, and also other myths that you face as an ophtha resident about which are actually completely baseless or maybe true. So
Yes, you're right.
regarding
I
this,
have heard some, and there are prevalent myths about all subjects around this subject is this subject is like that. But I would like to take up some myths that are commonly found regarding ophthalmology. First is, as you said, it is a very small subject. Eyes are so small, short subject. Actually, ophthalmology is very huge. It is just in the UG, you are just given a very small part to learn ophthalmology, the PG subject. It is not in like you can practice ophthalmology after UG. You can study medicine. You can open up your clinic after your MBBS and practice medicine, but it would be little difficult for you to practice ophthalmology. So very small part is given to us in the UG. Ophthalmology is quite vast. It has many divisions, super specialties. Even the surgeons classify themselves among anterior segment surgeon, posterior segment surgeons. Then you can imagine how vast it is. Like a surgeon practicing for 5 6 years of with experience, just studying the eye, classify themselves in anterior posterior segment surgeons and expertise in only particular structure inside the eye. Some of the other myths I would like to state here is some tell you have to have a big worry about the number of cases you get in future. I have already said the cases that you get in your regular OPD. So I don't feel there is a reason to panic about there is a very about the number of cases you would get. Uh, the number of cases, like any other subject, would after all depend upon your clinical skills, acumen, the surgical skills. But there is no gross reason to panic. What is about this patient thing? You would have your cases. This be assured. And another big myth is ophthalmology is for females. I am doing ophthalmology. My dad is an ophthalmologist for the past 3 decades. I have male PGs, SRs, consultants in my department. You look back in your department, in your uh, setup, in your college, you will find there are many male doctors, your professors, your PG seniors, your RMOs. Do you remember you visiting an ophthalmologist for something or the other, like you visited for your own checkup or your glasses or a family member? Was he or she a male or a female ophthalmologist? I think 50 to 60% would have visited a male ophthalmologist. So there is nothing like it is for a particular gender or nothing. These are all barriers and stereotypes uh, somebody creates and then spreads this rumors. These are just to discourage you. There's nothing like that. Okay. These are the some myths I have discussed.
yeah, actually, it's of course very prevalent in our fraternity that some streams are reserved for some gender and other such roles.
Yeah.
They're completely baseless, I feel, and also for the fact that not only ophthalmology, some subjects like OBG surgery are
Yeah.
extremely considered to be belonging to one gender, but it's completely false because I myself have seen in my college that there are various many important people from both the sides who belong to a particular region, who actually there is nothing called defined gender roles in medical subjects. It's only about the subject we love and only about how we perform in the subject. So, regarding the next question, we'll come to the next question now. It's regarding the satisfaction in your job. Like every other job is only successful if at the end of the day, while returning to your dinner table, you feel satisfied that you have done a good work. What is the job satisfaction that you get by being a resident in this subject?
The satisfaction in every subject that you should take up a subject that you are interested in. That would give you the most satisfaction. But in ophthalmology, I would like to tell patient and doctor satisfaction is good. Patient regaining vision is very much relieved, and this ultimately brings you happiness. Performing difficult, intricate, delicate surgeries brings you a sense of accomplishment. You have time to travel for your hobbies, families, function, events. So you are also satisfied in your social life.
Exactly. True. Basically, what I would like to add upon is that the results of the surgeries and all the medications in ophthalmology is very much visible in front of their eyes. So people are
Yeah.
very much satisfied. The patients are very satisfied by themselves because the results actually is visible in front of their eyes. The treatment they have received. So definitely that's a point. Now we will move on to the next part of the session, which is more related to aims, about what the life at aims are. And the first question about aims is basically your life at aims, about what your basic schedule looks from day to day, what you do
Okay.
at aims, how much time you get as free time.
Okay. As a resident in ophthalmology, first year resident in ophthalmology, I have a very strict and busy schedule. Wake up around 7 a.m. in the morning. This is like my normal daily schedule. Study for an hour, get ready for breakfast, and get to work by 8:15, 8:20. Patient rounds, putting the patient notes. It is followed by a senior PG round, SR consultant round. Then we complete our ward walk. Then there are two units. One unit goes for the OT, one unit goes for the OPD. The OT OPD lasts till 4 p.m. If you are in the OPD, you get a lunch break for half an hour. Then at 4, we gather for the PG teaching classes. Here, the Indians, they are quite strict about their academics. So we have weekly 4 classes in our PG teaching curriculum. Two classes are presented by junior. The classes last for 1.5 hours to 2 hours in duration. And evening rounds, then we take the evening rounds. Evening rounds start around 6. We have the pre or post rounds. Then we get to come back from our wards, take rest, maybe study, have your dinner. Then we take JR round at around 9:30, 10 to, it is mainly for the pre-op patients and to take a general look of all the ward work and all is for the next day. Then you come back, you have time to study, rest. You have emergency duties. Emergency duties are like, for us, it is like every uh, twice or thrice weekly we have emergency duties. After the OPD, you get your emergencies. You have to report to the emergency, see your patient, and treat accordingly. If you have surgical case like trauma, where you have a lid laceration, where you have a corneal tear, we take it up for surgery plan and take it up immediately for surgery or as soon as possible. Uh, we have this corneal donation, this eye donation programs. Whenever we get a call from any family member of any deceased who want to donate their eyes, the emergency team is set. Our corneal donation team is also there. We have to rush. Either we take it from our own hospital, we take it from home, we collect it from other hospital. So this is what general life in working day looks like. But you have enough time throughout your week. After your in a week, you will have enough time for your hobbies. Sometimes you may get time to even go out, play, anything.
Yes, the schedule seems a lot packed, to be honest. So basically, I would like to frankly ask whether it's possible to complete a Netflix series in 1 year of your residence. Like, do you get the time for completing at least one TV series or like playing a series of cricket matches? Is it possible?
Actually, I am not much into Netflix and this thing. I am much not into this. If I get time in the evening, I prefer going out swimming or I prefer going out playing. Here we have some facilities of this badminton, table tennis. I prefer this thing, so I spend much of my time in this outdoor games or something. But if you are asking about movies and all, yeah, once in a while, once in a month. I'm not an such a big movie enthusiast, but I do watch movies like once or twice a month. So I get little time. Mainly if you are having Saturday, Sunday, and if you are not posted on emergency duties on that day.
Okay. Okay. So the next question, which I would like to ask, is a question that has plagued us for long time. Like from the moment I entered into MBBS, from that time to till now, there's a question whether which is better. Is it the peripheral aims, which has huge amount of like technological advancement, or is it the state government colleges? Like state government colleges has a huge amount of patient inflow. To be honest, you can get a I've heard that you can get huge amount of exposure as well, and so there are actually a huge amount of competition between the peripheral aims and the state government colleges, and which one to
Yeah.
prefer. And
Yeah.
specifically, I would like to ask this question regarding the state government colleges where you can find basic patient inflow, huge amount of patient inflow, especially because you have completed your MBBS in the state government colleges and now you're going for AIMS. So just help us compare this scenario and which
Yeah.
one would you choose?
This is a frequently asked doubt, or frequently everybody thinks. See, if you are getting AIMS, Delhi, PH, Chandigarh, JIPMER, these are the top institutes. You directly go into them. There's nothing to think, sit back and think what to do, what to do. Now, when you have an option of peripheral AIMS, now people would have this question once the AIMS exams results are out and also the NEET counseling is going on. What to do if I am getting good seat in my choice seat in both the areas? I would like to say that state government colleges generally lack facilities and infrastructure in many colleges. And this is basically in ophthalmology specifying, because ophthalmology requires a huge for diagnosis, for your surgeries, for everything you require a huge number of costly machineries and high-end technology. It is not possible for the state government to equip every medical college with this high-end technology. What state government does is it selects one college, equips it, and makes it a center of excellence. Like in Kolkata, you have the RIU, while the other colleges have some basic infrastructure and lack other facilities. Like I don't think many of the very few of the state government colleges in West Bengal have a vitreoretinal setup. Now, as a PG, you would want this machineries and all, because once you go out of your PG life, you start your practice, you need to practice on these things. These are the things that are in the private setup, and you need to know about these things. PG is a time you need to learn. So, yeah, peripheral names are new, but they have funds to buy new machines, and they do it at a fast pace. I have seen my department growing richer by some high-end technology in a year's time. AIMS institutes are strict in about academics, and you also and this helps you to grow academically stronger. They would put you into research work and everything, so you get to do papers, you get opportunity to do papers, put your posters in different conferences, participate in different quiz, and also do some research work with your consultants, with your SR. AIMS always becomes a referral center. Wherever it opens, it becomes a referral center. So you get a good inflow of patients. Also, you get some difficult cases. Now coming to the Central Institute, you have to remember one thing: Central Institute, be it AIMS, Delhi, GI Chandigarh, they would give you cases in a controlled fashion because they are very much concerned about the patient welfare and everything. So this is, some might take it in a wrong way. You get less hands-on. No, don't get less hands-on. You get a good hands-on. You are basically very well trained before you get hands-on. You are very well. We are trained for the microscope. We are not given directly to eyes to operate on, human eyes to operate on. We have for basic things like the eye-hand setting. We have. Done suturing on thermocol, we have done it on goat's eye, we have done it on the thin polythene papers that come on the wrapping materials and all. And we are our taught by the consultants each and every little step, so you learn it very well. You learn it, you don't do any rash steps. They won't allow, the main thing is they won't allow you to do anything that is rash directly. You are not experienced, they give you a blade and tell cut. It doesn't happen in IMS. They are very much concerned the inflow of patient is good. And in the ward, AIMS we have um, an adequately sized ward that is a mixed ward. In generally, I find in some of the colleges, they fill the wards with cataracts. No, in AIMS they have different subspecialties. They would have cases according to the cornea consultant, the glaucoma cases admitted by the glaucoma consultant, retina cases, uvea cases. You will have cases for PG. You will have cases for the SRs. So you have a mixed ward, so your learning is good. So when you get a variety of cases, your learning would also be good. So and they also have cases for academic purpose, like you get a case from your OPD which might not require an urgent treatment or something, or you may not intervene, but they might admit it for a day and ask you to study about this case. Maybe somebody would present the case, they would teach you the case, they would convince the case to stay back in the ward for a day, and just for academic purpose they take admissions. So academics is quite high here. You also get to put your hands on the high-end technologies. At least we have vitrectomy setup and this eye bank. Maybe I won't be learning total vitrectomy surgery by the end of my PG. I would learn it afterwards. But at least I would have a very clear idea about how these machines work, what are the steps of the surgeries. So I think you are much more clearer about your decision.